Greetings everyone. Today we are joined by a Trinity Olympic swimmer, Heshan Unamboowe. Hello sir. Firstly, give us a brief introduction about yourself and your life here at Trinity.
My name is Heshan Unamboowe. I was the Trinity College swimming captain back in 2010. I joined Trinity College in 2004 in 4th grade, and I was here until I graduated in 2011. I am currently based in the United States, in Michigan. I work as a design engineer for an automotive company, and currently I'm visiting my friends and family for the first time in 5 years in Sri Lanka. So it's great to be back.
How much emphasis did you give for training and attendance at college?
I gave a lot of emphasis to training and attendance, whether it was showing up to practice or showing up to my classes at school. I made the realization of how important it was to show up at a very young age. And my coaches at the time also made sure that I stayed grounded and paid that importance of showing up and showing up to training at a very young age. That made me reach my goals the way I wanted to. And most of the time, what we don't realize is that consistency is what makes us, or what helps us form that foundation of discipline that supports us throughout our journey in a sport. So I was able to make that realization at a young age, and I'm grateful that my teammates and coaches were right behind me to support that concept.
It is interesting you say that, Heshan, because if you ever did miss training for, let's say, a couple of days, was it difficult to get back to form, and what methods did you use to overcome those challenges?
It was difficult in the sense that swimming is a very physical sport. So like I said earlier, consistency is key. So if you miss a specific number of practice sessions, let's say, for example, you miss a couple of days of practice, you really feel it the next time you get in the water, and you feel like you're not at your best. I'm sure swimmers watching this will understand what I'm talking about. So it really depends on the reason why you miss training. For example, if you had to miss training because of an injury you sustained, there's nothing really you can do to help that, rather than take that time off you needed to recover. But then if it was because you didn't feel like showing up to practice just because you were feeling tired or you were feeling lazy, which, we've all been through at a certain point in our lives, then you should take the time to realize, okay, this is just a mental barrier that I need to overcome. And I need to look at my goals. I need to look at what my future plans are in my sport. And so those are the kind of things that help me overlook the trivial things that kept me from missing practice. And like I said earlier, I was able to realize that at a young age, around the age of 12 or 13, because before that, there were times when I didn't want to show up to practice because I thought it was annoying. I felt like it was taking time off my day where I can just spend time with my friends and play with my friends. But understanding the importance of showing up and consistency is what I focused most on. So when I talk about the methods I use to overcome missing practice, I would say I took the time to talk with my coach and understand what exactly I missed, and then take some extra time to work on the things I missed. It could be, working on my stroke, working on my technique, working on my power. It's really about going that extra mile to account for what you missed. And it's the same with school as well, not just swimming. There were times when I had to miss school for several weeks or even months at a stretch because I had to travel for swimming competitions, and it required me to work a little harder than normal because I knew I needed to make up for what I missed. So it wasn't easy, but I also had a lot of support from my teammates, my coaches, and especially my teachers at Trinity, who I'm eternally grateful for. You really need a big support system to help you get through these challenges, especially as a school student. So I'm very grateful for that support system I had, and that's really how I was able to make up for the time I missed.
Heshan, so what challenges did you face as a student of Trinity when you were training for the Olympics? And do you have any areas of advice for the children nowadays on things they could probably change or alter?
So I think one of the biggest challenges I faced was maintaining a specific mental fortitude that was required to perform at a specific level. I was very fortunate to start representing both Trinity and Sri Lanka at the age of around 12 or 13. But that also meant that I needed to stay extremely focused on my career. And there was, like I said, there was a lot of expectations from the people around me. And so one of the things that really helped me was to set goals. And when I say set goals, I mean set more realistic goals and more timely goals. For example, I would look at the next 6 months, the next year, the next 5 years, and I would set specific goals during those timelines. And with the help of my coach, I was able to either alter those goals or enhance those goals. So staying grounded and understanding the importance of working hard to reach those goals is really what got me through and what got me to the level I wanted to be at. And it wasn't an easy journey by any means. I faced a lot of challenges, a lot of setbacks, and those are expected in the sport. But that mental fortitude is what will help you stay humble while reaching your goals. One of the biggest pieces of advice I can give students is to really understand the importance and the essence of what you're working towards. I feel that nowadays, especially student athletes tend to lose focus on what they're doing, and there are many distractions around them, which I don't blame them because it's a new day and age, especially with social media being extremely popular. It's important to understand what you're working towards and why you're working towards your goals. Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't bring you true satisfaction, and if you're only trying to impress others around you, that's really going to limit you from achieving your goals. So take the time to understand what you're working towards and why you're working towards those goals, and that will really help you develop that mental fortitude I was talking about in order to stay grounded and reach new heights every single day.
I think we're speaking for most of the athletes around us, Heshan. What kind of a role did your family play in shaping you to become an Olympian?
I think my family was my biggest support system by far. Without the help of my parents, I definitely would not have reached the level I did in the sport of swimming. My mom was my backbone from the day I started swimming. She would wake up at 3:30 in the morning every single day to make my meals and take me to swim practice. I had to be here at 4:45 in the morning. for training. And after she would send me off to school, even after she went home, her entire focus was on me and my sister. And then my dad, he worked overseas for nearly 40 years just to support me and my sister, because, you know, when you're playing a sport, there's a lot of financial commitments required. We live in a country where student athletes especially don't get a lot of financial support. So that responsibility fell on my dad. So he made the decision to go overseas, live all by himself, and just so he could support the family. So, like I said, my family was my parents were my guardian angels. My sister was also one of my biggest supporters. There were times when my mom had to attend to me a little more because I had to travel quite often. But my sister was always very understanding, and for that I'm eternally grateful for both my parents and my sister. Without their support, I could not have reached my goals in swimming or be where I am today.
Heshan, as a schoolboy, how did you manage to get the proper nutrition required for such an extensive training?
So this is one of those things that I really wished I paid a little more attention to and focused a little more on. Growing up, we didn't really have a whole lot of access to nutritionists. So my nutrition consisted of my mom's rice and curry for the most part, and it worked for me. I didn't seem to have any shortcomings as far as nutrition goes. But at the same time, I think it's important to focus more on nutrition, especially when we talk about school students, between the ages, for example, between the ages of 10 and 18. That's an age group where you grow rapidly. As opposed to, let's say, from the ages between 20 to 30. So it's important to focus on nutrition, what you eat, what you put in your body, especially as a swimmer, where swimming is a high calorie consuming sport. So you need to make sure that you take in the right amount of calories, the right amount of proteins to restore your muscle mass. And this is where I think the school needs to step in and give swimmers or the students the guidance they need as far as what they need to eat. Nutrition is not something you can start working on today and expect results the next week. It requires a plan, especially as a student athlete, to make sure you're eating right, eating the right amounts, and eating the right things. And having access to a nutritionist would be ideal, but I know that's not something everyone has access to. So, trusting your parents' instincts would be my advice to students, because at the end of the day, they are your providers and they know what's best for you from a nutrition perspective. And I think the focus should really be on the quantity and the contents of your nutrition.
Heshan, I'll take you back a couple of years behind. At what age did you start to dream the Olympic dream and start to build your mind? And did you make the pathway with timeliness to achieve those dreams?
Yeah, I think it's a little more than a couple of years. My Olympic dream started back in 2004. My sister and I watched the 2004 Athens Olympic Games swimming events. And I remember we recorded those events in a cassette, VHS. And even after the Olympics ended, we would watch those swimming events over and over and over again, to the point where we memorized the commentaries. That's how much we loved the sport and how much we loved the Olympics. And I also remember watching the Sri Lankan Olympian at the time, Conrad Francis, competing in the 100-meter butterfly. And I remember seeing his name with the Sri Lankan flag next to it and thinking to myself, that could be me one day. Because I was already, I wouldn't say I was amazing, but I was decent at swimming. So I started visualizing myself competing at an international stage, specifically at the Olympic Games. And so that's really where the foundation for my Olympic dream started. And then over the next few years, I wanted to focus on how to better myself in the sport, not specifically with just the goal of making it to the Olympics, but rather how I could improve my times. Let's say, for example, how much I can drop in time in the next year, or what international competition I wanted to target in the next 4 years. And that eventually got me into the possibility of making the Sri Lankan team for the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games. And I was very close to making the team, but unfortunately, someone else was better than me at the time, and they ended up going instead of me. So that was a big setback, specifically a big mental setback for me. And I remember at the time I took some time off to myself. It took about 2 weeks just to reflect on everything I've done up to that stage. I remember asking myself if I wanted to keep going for another 4 years or if it was even worth it. Initially, the answer was no, but I started thinking about all the hard work I had put in to get to where I was. And not just the hard work I had put in, but also how hard my parents, my coaches had worked to help me get to where I was. And I didn't want to let them down, and I specifically didn't want to let myself down because of the commitments I had made to reach a specific level in the sport. So that gave me the confidence I needed to keep going for the next 4 years, and I worked extra hard. I even had an opportunity to go overseas and train in Australia for a year. That really shifted things for me. And finally, in 2012, I was able to make the Sri Lankan Olympic team for London. And I still think that was one of the biggest highlights in my career as a swimmer.
So Heshan, just to add to what you said before, how you self-reflecting after you didn't get to the 2008 Beijing Olympics. How important is self-reflection not just to a sportsman at Trinity, but to any sportsman around the world?
I think self-reflection is very important because you need to be true to yourself first and really understand who you are as a person. And that could mean taking the time to reflect and recognize your strengths, your challenges, and even weaknesses. And once you do that, you will truly realize how much it helps you stay focused and work towards your goals. At the end of the day, you know yourself better than anyone else. So it's very important that you are true to yourself and you take the time to reflect on yourself as a person.
And finally, Heshan, how did you successfully balance your academic commitments from the demands of your rigorous training?
I think balancing academics and sports was one of the most challenging things I had to do as a student at Trinity. From a very young age, my parents and my teachers at Trinity made sure I understood the importance of being a student first and then an athlete second. Being a competitive sportsman at a very young age meant that I had to miss school quite often, having to travel to Colombo for swimming competitions or even overseas for days, weeks, or even months at a time. There's really no way around it. It all comes down to making an extra effort, taking a little more time to catch up on what you missed, and truly understanding the importance of academics, because we live in a country where it's very difficult to build a career out of a sport. It's sad that I have to say it, but it's making a career out of a sport is limited to a limited number of sports. And therefore, it's important to focus on your academics because that's what will truly take you places in life once you are done with your sport. And if you're a competitive sportsman watching this right now, you know how much hard work, you know what it takes to compete at a certain level. And it's the same idea with academics. The more hard work you put in, the more or the better results you will see at the end. So take the extra time you need, talk to your teachers. And if you're a Trinitian watching this, I know you have a great support system from your teachers. I was fortunate enough to have that support system from my teachers at the time. It takes a whole village. It takes support from your teachers, your parents, and yourself to maintain both academics and sports. So my advice is put in the extra work and you will see results, because I can guarantee you that you will be glad that you decided to go that extra mile or work a little harder.
And with that, thank you so much, Heshan, for your time staying here, recollecting your past memories. And we hope that you all understood something from Heshan's life at Trinity and as a swimming Olympian. Thank you so much, Heshan.
Thank you.